Welcome to BI352 Bioethics. Today we're going to take a look at the ethical system known as utilitarianism. Utilitarianism is a normative ethical theory that states that the best action is the one that maximizes utility. Our more modern view of utilitarianism came from John Stuart Mill and Jeremy Bentham. Both of these philosophers said that a right action is the one that promotes the greatest good for the greatest number. Jeremy Bentham put it in a more negative way, and he argued that what is the right action is the one that diminishes pain and creates more pleasure. In this system, to Bentham, each person counted as one in computing aggregate utility. There are two forms of utilitarianism. Act utilitarianism is that we look at the outcome. We don't worry about any ethical values or principles. Act utilitarianism asked, how do we do the most good? And so act utilitarianism is all outcome based and does not consider ethical rules. Rule utilitarianism is a more modern view, and it looks at if we apply a particular rule. It is bad to lie of what the greatest outcome would be with an act. And so it looks in relation to some aspects of a deontological system. So John Stuart Mill said, the creed which accepts as the foundation of morals utility or the greatest happiness principle holds that actions are right in proportion as they tend to promote happiness, and wrong as they tend to produce the reverse of happiness. By happiness is intended pleasure, that is, the absence of pain. By unhappiness, pain and the privation of pleasure. The only purpose for which power can be rightfully exercised over any member of a civilized community against his will is to prevent harm to others. His own good, either physical or moral, is not sufficient to warrant. And so this is saying that one does not have autonomy if it is going to cause more harm to someone else. Jeremy Bentham, in his writings, said that the truth is that the greatest happiness of the greatest number, that is the measure of right and wrong, is what is good. He says that that principle is really the foundation of all of our morals and legislation. So in a cartoon we see, what are you selling exactly? Not selling, giving. Giving you both an opportunity and a moral quandary. If you press this button I've brought, two things will happen. Someone you don't know will die, and you will receive $1 million. Now, you may ask, and we see the person clicking away, and then asking, honey, tropics or big city? New York. Here we see a person doing an immoral act. Because when we would do the calculus of benefit to harm, and we sum up and say what leads to the greatest good, most would say loss of life is a greater harm than receiving $1 million. And therefore this person was not doing a moral act. Here we see another cartoon and a takeoff of Lucy and Charlie Brown. We see Charlie Brown applying ethical principles, Lucy agreeing with him and saying that she's not going to pull up the football. But in the end, she does. And what she says to Charlie Brown is, but your problem is you're ahead of your time. In this case study, we have a patient, Mr. Green, who is 57 years old and is diagnosed with advanced prostate cancer. After all of the tests, his diagnosis is that he has 4 to 6 weeks to live. He is resigned that he's going to die, and he says to his nurse that he is going to commit suicide. From a utilitarian perspective, who are individuals who are affected in this case? What are the weight of the different consequences? And what action do you think that Mr. Green should take? What action do you think the nurse should take?